Want to answer some email?
Well, it depends on what they are.
Okay.
Let's give it a shot.
This first one is from Jonathan Pat, who says, I got involved with hookers the day I turned 18 because my mother sexually assaulted me when I was younger. My father was not at fault for this because he was at work providing for his family during the abuse. Should I call the police and have my mother charged now that I can speak up, or do I turn the other cheek? In case you're wondering, my father's now dead, but I never had the courage to tell him what happened to me until I was in my late 20s.
Jonathan, I think the thing to do is let that thing rest. Good grief. Your mother assaulted you? Mm-hmm. It's hard to believe. You know,
well, it happens.
Huh?
It happens, yeah.
Well, it's so rare, but in any event, she's your mother. And I mean, you've got to love her. I'd pray that she might find the Lord, and God will forgive her for that, and you should forgive her too. But you're going to charge her and ask her to be put in jail? Now that you're in your late 20s? Of course not. All right?
Okay, this is Sandra, who says, my husband and I are both Christians, and we tithe on everything we get. We have been praying for God to give us a financial blessing, but to no avail. We want to be able to give more to the ministry. Is it wrong to file for bankruptcy? Please advise.
I don't think it's... The reason bankruptcy is set up is to relieve people of pressure. In the Old Testament, every cycle, every 7 years, remember that Shemitah thing?
Yes.
There was a forgiveness of debt. Every 50 years, there was a cancellation of all debt. People went back to their normal properties. They gave up their agricultural land. They went back to the original owners. I think that kind of system works. And is it wrong to file for? But we've set up a system where you have to go through a court process. There's a Chapter 11 where you keep your property and you can manage it out of it. There's a Chapter 7 where you give it all up and you just really, you know, go broke. I don't think there's any stigma in bankruptcy. I really don't. I think some people were going bankrupt. They would run up all these debts and accumulate all this property, and then they would declare bankruptcy and keep the fruit of their ill-gotten gains. That was bad. That was the stealing. All right.
This is Darrin, who says, Dear Pat, I'm having a debate over who God is talking about in the book of Revelation when the 144,000 that are raptured are mentioned. Please clarify, is it God's people, the Jews, or is it the total of all worldly souls to be raptured?
You know, the Jehovah's Witnesses used to say, well, there are only 144,000 that are going to heaven, and we're the 144. Then they got more than 144,000 in their denomination, and they had to have a whole special class to take care of them. Look, there's 7 billion people on earth, and there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of people accepting the Lord. So the 144,000, in my estimation, is a representation. It's like 12 tribes times 12,000 times. And it is a statistical representation of the fact that a remnant is going to be saved out of the nations of the earth. But, you know, the book of Revelation is apocalyptic literature. It isn't meant to be read as a textbook. And so, in my opinion, it's a representation of those who are faithful, who've been sealed out of the people on earth.